Let me say this clearly. Disrespect is never accidental. And the moment you rush to explain yourself, you've already handed away your power. Here's the truth. No one tells you the perfect response to disrespect is not louder words, sharper insults, or dramatic exits. The perfect response is self-respect in motion. Most people think disrespect deserves a reaction. I don't agree, because reactions are easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, and easy to control. Disrespect is a test, a quiet one, a dangerous one. It asks a single question: do you know your worth, or do you need me to define it for you? When someone talks down to you, dismisses your feelings, mocks your boundaries, or treats your presence like it's optional, they are not just being rude. They are watching. They are measuring how much of yourself you are willing to abandon to stay accepted. And here's the painful part. Most people respond by shrinking, by over-explaining, by justifying their pain, by begging to be understood. But the strongest people I've ever studied don't do that. They don't chase respect. They embody it. The perfect response to disrespect doesn't start with your mouth. It starts with your nervous system calming down. It starts with you realizing, I don't need to win this moment. I need to protect my dignity. Because the moment you stop performing for someone who disrespects you, the entire power dynamic collapses. In the next section, I'm going to show you why silence, when chosen consciously, is not weakness, but authority. Silence gets misunderstood. People think it means you didn't have the courage to speak. They think it means you lost. That's only true when silence comes from fear. But the silence I'm talking about, the one that protects you, that silence is a boundary with teeth. When someone disrespects you, they are often fishing for something, a reaction, a defense, an emotional spill they can twist, deny, or minimize. Disrespect feeds on engagement. And here's what most people don't realize. The moment you try to explain your worth to someone who has already decided to dismiss you, you reinforce their power. Silence, when chosen deliberately, does something radical. It interrupts the pattern. It says, I am not available for this version of you. No yelling, no insults, no long speeches rehearsed in the shower at 2 a.m., just presence, just composure, just a calm refusal to participate in disrespect. This kind of silence unsettles people because it forces them to sit with themselves, and most people who disrespect others are running from their own discomfort. Let me be clear. This isn't about shutting down emotionally. It's about not outsourcing your self-worth to someone who hasn't earned access to it. Silence is powerful because it keeps you regulated, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you from saying something you'll later have to heal from. And here's the part that takes courage. Silence doesn't guarantee an apology. It doesn't promise change. What it guarantees is this: you walk away intact. You don't betray yourself trying to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you. In the next section, I'm going to talk about why explaining yourself after disrespect often deepens the wound instead of healing it. There's a moment after disrespect that feels almost unbearable. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and every part of you wants to say, let me explain. Explain your tone, explain your intention, explain why that hurt. But here's the hard truth. Disrespect is not a misunderstanding. It's a decision. When someone genuinely cares, they ask, they listen. But when someone dismisses you, interrupts you, mocks you, or minimizes your feelings, they are not confused. They are asserting control. And when you start explaining yourself in that moment, something subtle happens. You move from equal ground into defense mode. Defense says, please don't see me this way. And power hears, I can define you. Explaining yourself to someone who just disrespected you is like trying to teach empathy to someone who benefits from your silence. It rarely lands. And often it backfires. They interrupt. They twist your words. They tell you you're too sensitive. They turn your pain into evidence against you. And now, instead of one wound, you're carrying two: the original disrespect and the shame of feeling unseen. Here's what grounded people know. You do not owe clarity to someone who offered you contempt. You don't need the perfect sentence. You don't need to convince them you're reasonable. You don't need to earn basic decency. Respect isn't negotiated in moments of disrespect. It's demonstrated later through changed behavior or lost access. When you stop explaining, something shifts inside you. Your body relaxes, your mind steadies. You realize, I'm allowed to step back. And stepping back isn't avoidance, it's discernment. In the next section, I'll show you how the perfect response often looks calm on the outside, but feels revolutionary on the inside. The most powerful response to disrespect rarely looks dramatic. There's no mic drop, no raised voice, no clever comeback that leaves the room stunned. Instead, there's stillness, and that stillness confuses people because they expect chaos. They expect you to defend. They expect you to fight for your dignity. But dignity doesn't need defending. It needs anchoring. When you stay calm after disrespect, it doesn't mean you didn't feel the sting. It means you refuse to let the sting decide who you become next. Inside, something fierce is happening. Your nervous system is working overtime. Your heart is pounding. Your old patterns are begging you to react. And yet, yes, that pause is courage. Because calm is not passive. Calm is regulated strength. It's you saying, I'm not going to abandon myself to manage your emotions. Disrespect often comes with urgency. A push to respond now, fix it now, prove something now. But when you slow down, you take the oxygen out of the moment. You reclaim time, and time restores power. Calm tells the other person, you don't get instant access to my energy. And here's the truth. People who rely on disrespect lose influence when they can't provoke you. They may escalate. They may mock your silence. They may accuse you of being cold. That's not your cue to engage. That's confirmation you hit a boundary they weren't prepared for. Calm creates clarity. It lets you observe instead of absorb. It gives you space to decide, not react. And the more you practice this, the more something profound happens. Your self-trust grows. In the next section, I'm going to talk about how choosing distance, physical or emotional, is sometimes the most respectful response you can give yourself. Most people misunderstand distance. They think it's dramatic. They think it's cruel. They think it's a silent way of saying, you hurt me. But healthy distance isn't about teaching someone a lesson. It's about teaching yourself safety. When disrespect repeats itself, what you're actually gathering is data, not excuses, not apologies, patterns. And patterns tell the truth faster than words ever will. Choosing distance after disrespect is a decision that sounds like this inside your body. I'm no longer available for behavior that requires me to shrink. That's not rejection. That's alignment. Distance gives your nervous system room to breathe. It gives yourself worth a chance to stabilize. It prevents you from normalizing harm just to keep connection. And here's the part that stings. Distance often reveals what words never could. People who respect you will feel the absence and reflect. People who benefit from disrespect will feel the absence and retaliate. Both responses are information. Distance is not the same as abandonment. Abandonment says, you don't matter. Distance says, I matter too. You're allowed to take space without a speech. You're allowed to step back without a dramatic explanation. You're allowed to protect your peace quietly. And no, you don't need permission. The strongest boundaries are often invisible to everyone except the person crossing them. Distance is how you stop teaching others that access to you is unlimited. In the next section, I'm going to show you why the perfect response to disrespect is never about control. It's about choice. Disrespect thrives in one specific environment: when you feel trapped, when you believe you have no options, when you think your only power is to endure. But the moment you recognize choice, everything changes. The perfect response to disrespect is not controlling the other person's behavior. That's exhausting. And it's impossible. The real power is choosing how close someone gets after they show you who they are. Choice sounds quiet, but it's radical. It says, I decide what I tolerate. I decide what I engage with. I decide what has access to my energy. People who disrespect you often want to dictate the terms, how fast you respond, how much you explain how long you stay. Choice breaks that illusion. You don't have to confront. You don't have to forgive immediately. You don't have to cut someone off dramatically. You get to choose timing. You get to choose proximity. You get to choose silence, distance, or dialogue later when you're grounded. This is where self-trust is built, not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent decisions that say, I will not betray myself to keep the peace. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to control outcomes, you gain influence. Your calm choices communicate more than arguments ever could. They show that respect is the cost of closeness. Some people will rise to that standard. Others will fall away. Both outcomes are honest. In the next section, I'm going to talk about why your body knows the right response long before your mind catches up. Before your mind forms a sentence, your body has already voted. That tightness in your chest, the drop in your stomach, the sudden urge to go quiet or explode. Those are not weaknesses. They are signals. Disrespect is felt in the body first because the body is wired for safety. It doesn't debate. It doesn't rationalize. But here's what many of us were taught to override those signals: to smile, to stay polite, to keep the peace at our own expense. And every time you ignore what your body is telling you, you teach yourself that your comfort is negotiable. The perfect response to disrespect starts with listening inward. When your body tightens, it's saying, something here is not safe for me. When your energy drops, it's saying, I'm being drained. When your heart races, saying, I'm bracing for harm. You don't need to label the other person as bad. You don't need a diagnosis. You don't need proof. Your body doesn't lie, it remembers. Grounded people don't just think their way through disrespect. They feel their way through it. They pause. They breathe. They regulate before they respond. And from that regulated place, the response becomes obvious, less reactive, less dramatic, more self-honoring. This is why the perfect response often looks simple, because it's coming from alignment, not anxiety. In the next section, I'll show you how saying less, sometimes just one sentence, can protect your dignity better than a long explanation ever could. There is a quiet confidence that comes from restraint, from realizing you don't need a paragraph when a sentence will do, from knowing that clarity doesn't require volume. After disrespect, many people overtalk. They explain, they justify, they unload everything they've been holding, and afterward they feel exposed, regretful, smaller than before, because too many words spoken from pain often become ammunition. The perfect response is not silence forever. It's intentional language. A simple sentence can carry immense power when it's rooted in self-respect. Not aggressive, not apologetic, just grounded. Something like, that doesn't work for me. I'm not comfortable with that. Let's pause this conversation. These sentences do something important. They name the boundary without explaining it. You don't owe a backstory. You don't owe emotional labor. You don't owe someone proof that your feelings are valid. When you say less, you give yourself room to breathe. You stay connected to your body. You remain in choice. And here's the key. People who respect you will lean in and listen. People who don't will push back. That response tells you everything you need to know. Saying less keeps you out of the cycle of defending your worth. It keeps the focus where it belongs, on behavior, not your character. You are allowed to be brief. You are allowed to be firm. You are allowed to be done. In the next section, I'm going to talk about what happens when you stop chasing respect and start requiring it. There's a shift that happens when you finally get tired of explaining, tired of hoping, tired of waiting for someone to treat you better. That shift is powerful because chasing respect quietly teaches people that respect is optional. That if they push long enough, ignore long enough, dismiss long enough, you'll still stay. But the moment you stop chasing, a line is drawn. Requiring respect doesn't mean demanding it out loud. It means changing your behavior when it's missing. It means you respond less, you share less, you offer less access, not out of spite, but out of self, honoring clarity. This is where many people get uncomfortable because when you stop chasing respect, some relationships change. Some conversations end. Some people reveal who they really are, and that's not a loss, that's information. Requiring respect is an internal decision. I will no longer participate in spaces where I am diminished. It's subtle, it's steady, it's not performative, and it works because it's consistent. You don't threaten, you don't warn, you don't announce boundaries. You simply live them, and here's the truth. People who are capable of respect will rise to meet you. People who relied on your tolerance will resist. Both outcomes free you, because respect that has to be chased is not respect. It's control disguised as connection. When you stop chasing, you stop negotiating your worth. In the final section, I'm going to bring this home with the ending statement that defines the perfect response to disrespect. Here's the conclusion that changes everything. The perfect response to disrespect is choosing yourself every single time. It's not about revenge. It's not about proving a point. It's not about making someone feel small. It's about preserving your dignity, even when the world tries to steal it. The moment someone disrespects you, you have a choice: shrink, react, explain, chase, or stand firm in self-respect. The strongest, most courageous people I've studied choose the latter. They regulate their nervous system. They honor their body's signals. They decide where to speak, where to pause, and where to walk away. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are powerful enough to refuse participation in harm. The perfect response is quiet. It's calm. It's grounded. It's saying, I will not betray myself to teach you decency. And here's the most liberating part. When you consistently respond this way, disrespect loses its power because it only exists where you let it in. You become untouchable, not because you fight harder, but because you honor yourself more. This is the ultimate act of courage, not reacting, not explaining, not begging for respect, but walking away with your head high, your heart intact, and your boundaries unshakable. Disrespect will come, people will test you, moments will sting, but your response will no longer be dictated by someone else. It will be dictated by your worth, your calm, and your courage. That is the perfect response to disrespect. And that is how power, real power, shows up.